Well, thank you so much for being here with me once again on another episode of A Legacy of Love, Un Legado de Amor. And I have someone very special today. His name is Taylor Duran, and he has a story. We all have a story. Thank you, Taylor, for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's incredibly humbling, and I'm honored to have been chosen to do this podcast with you.
Well, thank you. I really, really have a special connection with you as we were talking before the recording, but I would like you to share your own journey, your own story, because we all have a story.
Absolutely. Mine generally started when I was 8 years old. My mom reconnected with an old flame, and eventually got married to him. When I was 8, this is the first time that I really met my older stepsister. So for the next 2 years, we ended up moving to around DFW, which is Dallas Fort Worth area in Texas. And it was fine at first, but then he started being a little bit more abusive, leaning into emotional, physical, mental, um, you know, verbal, all the different kinds of abuse. And um, being a very impressionable kid at that time, there were certain things that I would say or do that were like him that weren't who I was. So eventually growing up, and he was very racist.
Mhm.
So every time that he saw an African American person, he dropped the N word, and eventually because I was so impressionable, that's kind of how I associated with, and that's how I would start to think. And even today, I have to use, CBT techniques in order to change the mindset that I know is wrong, right? So after a certain point, it becomes, well, it doesn't matter how you were raised. It matters what you know to be right and wrong and whether or not you were going to fix it. So fast forward to about 10 years old, he comes home drunk one night and my mom and him get into a really big fight, and I come out to see if everything's okay, and he takes a sip of his Crown whiskey because that was his thing, and he looks me in the eye and tells me that I was the reason that my mom was leaving him. So at that point, I I really just started breaking down, crying. I called my dad, and the police got involved. And after that whole thing, we left. I was really disappointed because uh, the next day at school was game day, right? Game and pajama day, and I was so excited to be a part of that. But we ended up leaving to back to San Antonio around that time. About a year later, my dad got really mad at me and just cut off all communication. And during that time, my Uncle Ralph, on my dad's side, he had passed away due to pancreatic cancer or something like that. Um, and I wasn't close with him, so it didn't have the effect that, the loss of family members coming shortly after that would have. So, we got back on track around 12 years old, and then 13 came around and he did it again. All while, um, my stepdad's coming in and out of the picture. At 14, my older sister, she did something to my stepdad, and he was either like, all right, you're going to prison or you're going into the army. She chose the army, so I didn't see her for another 2 years after that. When I was 16, my uncle that I was closest to, um, you know, I turned 16. That was the last day that I ever saw him. I still remember the last words he ever spoke to me. I actually tattooed them on my chest. But he said, "See you soon, babe." And then 10 days later, he committed suicide. His mom found him about 4 in the morning. And then, my sister comes home in May of that same year. She got kicked out of the army for underage drinking. She was always that wild card. And then after that, uh, you know, November 8th, 2012 was the day that she died in a car fire, taking one of my friends home, whose mom was too drunk to come pick her up at 8 p.m. at night on a Thursday at school. So 8 p.m., my friend was still at school. She was alone at school on school grounds. So I asked my mom to go pick her up. My mom sent my sister. And thankfully, my friend got dropped off before um, my sister did crash. The engine caught fire. The fuel pump didn't shut off. Later, I found out that she was initially knocked out in the crash, but she woke up because of the smoke inhalation. She started coughing. She started screaming for her daddy to come and save her. Then she finally screamed uh, as she burnt to death. The fire was so hot that it melted the entire engine block, and we don't know if she was drunk. We can only speculate because there was no bodily fluids left. She was burnt so bad that it was just her torso that was left. Um, and then, a couple years, so I went numb after that, didn't feel a thing, at all. And 2 years later, in October, my cousin on my dad's side, he was diagnosed with scleroderma, which is basically the hardening of soft tissue in the body, and um, he was set to get a lung transplant in a week, right? Well, a week before he gets that lung transplant, he ends up dying. So we went to the funeral. Then, all while this is going on, my both grandfathers on my dad's side and my mom's side, um, either have dementia or early onset Alzheimer's. Um, so after that October of 2014,
Mhm.
3 months or 2 months later, my grandmother, on my dad's side, my dad's mother, ends up going to the hospital, and contracting C. diff, which is a hospital-borne disease where the bad bacteria in your intestines um, overpowers the good bacteria that keeps it at bay, and you have an infection, and it's very, very painful.
Mhm.
Um, so she ended up dying, and I saw her the last day that she was alive. I wasn't originally going to stop by, but I did, and I saw her on the last day that she was on this earth. And then 2 years later, my grandfather on my dad's side passes away. And then, so this would have been about 2018, give or take. And then my mom's dad, we called him Pops, um, died on November 8th, same day as my sister, 7 years later. Um, all while doing this, I was struggling with identity, who I was as a person. And so I decided to transition a little bit, like just start the process and, try and figure out who I was and, basically associate that with it. Then I stopped, then I started, then I stopped, and I kept flip-flopping back and forth because I didn't really know who I was, and I'm still trying to figure that out. But when I started transitioning, when I came out, um, my entire dad's side of the family just turned their back on me. Now growing up, from the time that I was 4 or 5 all the way up until now, one of my dad's nephews bullied me all throughout childhood, and he would do it to the point where he would make me cry, because he was just being so mean. And even then, after I transitioned, he would call me out on Facebook. Like, I remember one comment that he posted on my actual Facebook. He said, "Did you cut your off yet?" Publicly, like just completely publicly. And so I eventually I had to disconnect from him and just realized that this side of the family is just too toxic for me. On my 25th birthday, he texted a group chat with all of us in there, and he said, "Hey, is it happy birthday to Taylor or was it happy birthday to your old name?" And so I just said, "Hey, dude, don't like just keep both of my names out of your mouth." But I dropped a little bit more colorful language. That started an entire um, argument in that thread. One of my cousins said, "Hey, that's not how you talk to family," but he's never defended me when I was getting disrespected. So my fire back was, all of you may be blood, but some of you aren't family. So going all throughout this, I was still struggling with who I am, trying to figure out where I was at, and my dad just coming out of his anger at God that he really took out on me all my childhood. Um, he, he kind of, we're getting to a good place, the relationship that I deserved, that he gave to my sister, my little sister. And I'm trying to get over that because that's the dad that I wanted. That's the dad I deserved.
Yes.
And so eventually, so I have to realize that there's nothing he can do to change the past. But moving forward, he can be the dad that I want and that I deserve. So we're getting to a very good place. Um, he's in a much better, happy place. But this, you know, some of the trauma responses that I still have to this day is if someone's talking on the phone in the car, I will not say a word because my stepdad, if I were talking to a different person in the car, he would stop the phone call, turn around and yell at me and tell me to shut up. So I don't talk to anybody when somebody's on the phone, and if I have to say something, it's very quiet and it's very submissive. And if you know anything about the nervous reaction or the nervous system's reaction to um, threats is it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I'm more of a fawner. I try and appease the situation instead of like try and run, fight, or freeze in it. Um, you know, there's a lot of things that I have, like a diagnosis, like PTSD, severe depression, ADHD, um, BPD or bipolar disorder. They can't really put that one into a box yet. Um, but it's a lot of things that I have to deal with, and learning to love myself and who I am, flaws and all, has been the biggest challenge of this whole journey. And sometimes even in our darkest moments, a single ray of hope in the face of adversity shines its brightest. And as I was telling you before, is that you know if you're religious or you have um, you know, uh, an affiliation with a higher power, is that, especially God, is that He gives all of us free will. And sometimes the free will of someone else does affect your own life in a way that you can't control or that's traumatic or that's painful. Um, but if you look at it from a overview perspective, is that sometimes we go through things that are traumatic, that are emotionally traumatizing, emotionally painful, is that you're not just going through them for you. You are going through them to learn what you need to learn in order to help someone else.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes when we get into romantic relationships and they end, it's not a waste of time because you were going through the relationship that you needed to learn what you needed to learn from that relationship to be better for the next one.
Yes, no,
And
I
that
agree. I agree. And I think that your story is very profound. I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people that are going to be watching this episode. And you went through so many adversity, so much struggle, and it's hard to even put it in words because it's just so much pain of loss of your identity. What would you tell people that are going to be watching this as of um, your own how were you able to overcome all this? Because I see that you have this amazing Find Me a series matter of books. How were you able to overcome this? How were you able to because there I know that there's going to be people that are going to resonate with your own story, your own journey of loss, of being abused. Like I also definitely understand that part. It's been very profound for me to listen to what you've gone through, but also the confusion or that piece that goes with your gender. I know that you have something that you want to share with these people.
So I think what I would share is that, um, especially for the men, is that vulnerability is not weakness. Um, the courage to be vulnerable in ways with the world, with yourself, and which is more important, but with those around you is more powerful than you could ever know. And it's strength, it's security, it's emotional maturity, it's self-aware. So to ask for help when you feel like it is not for you is the best time to ask. To swallow that pride for men, right? And ask for that help when you don't know what to do, when you don't know how to navigate it. That is power, that shows humility, and that shows self-assurance and self-awareness in who you are. And I think that that's important and also equally powerful, to show others that you know that you're not able to figure it out on your own. And I think that that in itself is amazing. So to ask for help, to swallow that pride and ask for help is something that I would impress on the watchers or viewers or listeners.
Yeah, and if they're like still in that dark place, um, it's okay to be there, but I believe, and you also probably will agree with me, it's okay to be in that dark place, but it's not okay to stay there, right? You have to do something for your own good, for because you deserve to fulfill your purpose, and I believe you're already fulfilling it by these amazing books that you're writing, this series of books. Could you share a little bit about them?
Yes. So I will start off by saying that pain is comforting if you've been through it long enough or if you've been suffering from it long enough. Um, and to wade into the discomfort is very, very powerful. So that's what I did when I started writing the novels is I started basing it on everything that I have been through in a fantasy series that has healthy coping skills, right? So my main character is going to go through everything that I've gone through. She's going to battle her own individual demons as well as, battling her own identity, her own self-worth, her own purpose. So it is not just meant to be something that captivates. It's meant to be something that heals, right? So I could have all the commercial and social success in the world, but like it could be the next Harry Potter of this generation, but to me it won't be successful until I get confirmation that it has saved someone's life. And that's why I'm putting um, a lot of mental health resources, the national hotlines for many different places within the novel, a disclaimer saying, "Hey, this touches on realistic problems and realistic reactions to those traumatic events." So, but there are messages, while it has a very, very heavy tone of dark. There is an underlying and equally, if not more, tone of hope. So it's designed to give people hope when they possibly are just looking for an escape for temporarily.
Yes. So I really believe that find me means how it seems to me like it's more about you were able to find yourself in the midst of all this that you were going through. But now you are the light of hope to these people that are still battling, whether if it's with their gender identity, whether it is with loss. And you've turned that all around into something amazing because as you're writing, you're also healing. As you're sharing your story, you're empowering yourself, but you're also empowering others. So, how could these people reach out to you, Taylor?
So you can reach out to me on my official Instagram. It's at official Taylor Duran. And just sidebar, the title is actually Kayla Find Me, an Enlightenment series. If you can't find me on Instagram, it's you can reach out to me on my website, which is officialtaylorduran.com. I have methods on there that you can contact me as well. LinkedIn, Facebook. I mean, if you really want to talk or just, you know, say anything that resonates with you, I'm definitely going to be open and available to responding.
Well, that is fantastic, wanting to be the light in the midst of all this darkness that you faced. And please reach out to him because he has something amazing to share. And I believe that these series are definitely going to help and it's going to bring a lot of light to you all. And as I mentioned to him previously, it will also resonate not only with people that are still struggling with gender confusion, or but mainly also with people that have gone through abuse, that have felt probably their self-esteem has been very lowered or they've been treated differently because of having relatives that have not been well, but working together as a team and listening and reading his own story, his own series that he has already out there will bring a lot of healing and transformation and light to everyone, even though you have not probably experienced these things. But why not know what other people go through and find the way to help them as well? Is there a last message that you would like to share with us?
Hmm. There was something that I came across. We or I'm like something that I believe is that we come across many destinations in life, and each destination is only as sweet, salubrious, and beautiful as the journey was daunting, treacherous, and you know, fearful. So the the good parts in life that we arrive in are equal, if not greater, than the journey it takes to get there. So trust that your journey to get wherever the next milestone is worth the milestone that it takes to get it, the journey takes to get there.
Most definitely. And I did mention that to you previously that I'm very proud of the gentleman, the young gentleman that you've become, all the wonderful things that you've accomplished. It was not easy. I call it baby steps in my book, A Legacy of Love, because every battle, every challenge that you go through will actually make you this special person. It changes you definitely for your best. And most definitely, I know that you will be reaching your full potential as you continue learning and growing. And I really appreciate having you today because you brought a topic that needs to be shared. And for you being so vulnerable and willing to do this, I'm very proud of you. And I know that you have a lot more to reach. And thank you, you all, for being here with me once again on another episode of A Legacy of Love. And Taylor, thank you for being here too.
Thank you as well.